Ashley Johnson breaks some critters' hearts, Critical Role fires some shots at D&D, and is One Piece about to end after 2.5 decades?
It's over! Nothing is over! Nothing!
Welcome to Tabletop News Tuesday, our first look at the week's biggest TTRPG and fantasy news. Today we're talking some potential heartbreak from Ashley's fireside chat, the wildly popular One Piece manga is in its final arc, and Critical Role fires some shots at D&D? Before we break it all down, why not take a second and hit those like and subscribe buttons to help us keep this content coming? And then, let's dive into the news.
Issue number 1 is the first issue we're going to talk about.
Ashley Johnson sat down for a fireside chat over on Beacon, and besides learning about her own anxiety making her occasionally flub the rules and her secret desire to be cradled by a gorilla,
just a big, meaty gorilla, just like hold me and pretend that I was its baby. You're finding out a lot of weird fantasies, guys.
we also learned a lot about Fearne and probably broke the hearts of a lot of Critical Role shippers out there. Ashley revealed that Fearne was inspired by the dark Nordic fairy tales her father's family would tell her, combined with Guillermo del Toro films like Pan's Labyrinth, and credits Matt Mercer for bringing that idea of a dark fairy tale together into a character when helping her create Fearne for EXU. We also got insight into the anxiety Ashley deals with as she admitted that she was almost not a part of the original Critical Role home game, as she almost backed out at the last moment from the stress and nerves of having to play at Matt and Marisha's apartment with the rest of the cast who she didn't really know terribly well at the time, so Critical Role could have looked very, very different. But perhaps most importantly, she may have broken the heart of Calamore shippers across the critterdom, as she admitted Fearne is already getting squirrely in her situationship with Ashton, and may not stay with Ashton for long as she doesn't even know if Fearne thinks she has time for an actual relationship and probably just doesn't want to be pinned down and will simply go with the flow. So it seems unlikely those two will get the happily ever after the Calamore crowd has been hoping for. She also admitted that Fearne is tempted by the dark side, saying she actually had a plan in place to go with her father when she confronted him in the Archheart's temple, and that if Nanamori or Orm and the rest of the Hells died, she'd probably let her mask completely slip and go full evil. And she played it very cagey when asked what Fearne thinks about becoming the vessel for Predathos, but did admit that Fearne had already made her decision, so there's a lot of potential darkness there still pulling at the strings of everyone's favorite fawn. We also learned the cast is well aware this game is about to end any episode now, so the return to Exandria may literally kick off the final 5 or so episode arc of Campaign 3 as they look to wrap things up before the holidays.
This ends now!
Critical Role may have also snuck in a little shot at Dungeons & Dragons last week with their huge Daggerheart announcement. An announcement that came on the day the new 2024 Player's Handbook for D&D officially released. While certainly not a declaration of war or anything serious like that, the timing for the announcement of what could be one of the biggest competitors to face D&D in years on the exact day their new Player's Handbook got dropped is at least a hilarious coincidence and definitely dominated the news cycle and stole some major thunder from Wizards of the Coast. And with Critical Role doubling down on Daggerheart with its first ever live event at their huge Christmas special show, and rumors / common sense suggesting that Daggerheart will get an ongoing campaign of its own next year, it's just another sign that Critical Role is really pulling away from D&D in 2025.
Time to say goodbye.
The story of One Piece is almost over, as we are just months away from the end of the 2.5-decade storyline of Luffy's quest to become King of the Pirates. Earlier this year, One Piece creator Ichiro Oda confirmed that he planned on wrapping up the manga in January 2025, and it seems like he's sticking to that timetable with a new event that has Luffy and fellow Pirate Emperor Shanks going to war with each other. Shanks, the mentor of Luffy who gave him his iconic straw hat, effectively declared war on the Straw Hat fleet by attacking and sinking the ship of Bartolomeo, one of Luffy's close allies and friends, and potentially killing its entire crew. This fight between Luffy and Shanks would leave only one real Emperor of the Sea left for the Straw Hats to fight, Blackbeard, the main big bad of the series for the last decade or so. So perhaps this war is Shanks' way of teaching Luffy one final lesson before he faces down Blackbeard and makes his way to the legendary One Piece. Either way, it seems like this war will be relatively short, as there are just 4 months left in Oda's timetable for One Piece, but don't worry. If you're afraid of living in a world without Monkey D. Luffy, just remember that Netflix hasn't even started its reboot of the entire One Piece anime yet.
It is a never-ending cycle.
Cyberpunk Red gets its own Nexus courtesy of Demiplane, joining D&D, Daggerheart, the Avatar RPG, Cosmere RPG, and more on the ever-expanding digital tool platform. Demiplane has just revealed that the Cyberpunk Red Nexus will go live on October 8th, bringing with it a character creator and a full digital compendium for the hit R. Talsorian game, including the super popular Edgerunners expansion based off the even more popular animated series. This Nexus also includes integration with Roll20 as part of that big Roll20 and Demiplane merger we announced earlier this year, including matchmaking to help players find games, voice and text chat integration, and much more. Demiplane was already becoming the digital platform of choice for a lot of players in recent years, and with their merger with Roll20 adding integration to the incredibly popular virtual tabletop, and more big TTRPG titles like Cyberpunk Red joining their growing list of game nexi, Demiplane is rapidly becoming the online toolset of choice for TTRPG fans everywhere, and D&D Beyond should really start watching over their shoulder.
Check this out.
And finally, Image Comics is turning a new graphic novel into its own D&D 5e setting. Image Comics has announced that their upcoming graphic novel, The Swords of Wincy, which is based off a 40-year D&D campaign run by comic writer Matt Hawkins, will feature a brand new setting and adventure that follows the graphic novel. This open source 5e campaign will allow players to enter the island nations of Erlen, where humans have used their naval might to suppress the other races and their gods, and the adventure sees the party conscripted into the humans' race to find the lost gems of the Crown of Amon-Tha to make their control of the islands permanent, and the strange undead conspiracy that they uncover along the way. It sounds like the players will take the role of one of the characters from the graphic novel as they hunt down the gems and the undead menace, with each release of the graphic novel also acting as a chapter of the adventure module. It sounds pretty interesting to us, but you can decide for yourself when the graphic novel / 5e adventure is released April 1st, 2025.
Can't wait.
That's all the fantasy and TTRPG news we have for today. Let us know which story was your favorite down in the comment section, and don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons.